Thanks everyone for joining. Appreciate it. I'm Sean Cordner, Chief Marketing Officer at Amplix. Um, when we planned this webinar several months ago, my initial reaction was it's going to be too early to start talking about the holidays. Then I was kind of horrified to see that there were Halloween decorations out in home goods. This is before the 4th of July was over, and it reminded me that companies really start planning early. So maybe this is timely for all of you. We're going to help you to plan for the holiday seasonal fluctuations in your contact center business. And we're going to get some help today from our panelists. I'm going to have them introduce themselves, starting off with Lori.
Oh, you bet. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Lori Boucher. I am a Senior Customer Success Manager at PolyAI. Sean, was there anything else you wanted us to share? Who we are, where we're working?
No, just and maybe
Great.
a little bit about what you do there. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I partner with our highly tiered customer base, focusing on driving the value of the AI integration that they've implemented into their contact centers as a customer success manager.
Great. Thanks, Lori. And
You bet.
little intro, Mandy.
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
I didn't hear you say my name. I'm Mandy Jarman. Great to meet everyone. I run our partnerships program at Regal.ai, so working closely with the Amplex team as well as our forward deployed engineer team when it comes to pre-sale and that go-to-market strategy when it's around AI agents for the contact center.
Awesome. Thank you. And Hardy?
Yes, thank you, Sean. Hardy Myers. I run global partnerships for Cognigy. Cognigy is one of the leading AI-enabled automation providers for contact center automation.
Thank you. Cognigy was just in the news recently.
We had a big announcement this on Monday. Yes, that's right. We NICE announced that they were going to be acquiring Cognigy later this year, which is very exciting.
Sounds like a great opportunity for you guys. So we've got Lori, Mandy, Hardy producing the webinar. We've got Kylie. So just to fit in, I'm going to go by Shawnee for the duration of this webinar. I'm going to get started and ask Mandy first. What was the biggest challenge that most contact centers faced heading into the holiday season, maybe up until a few years ago? And how has AI really changed that?
Yeah, I mean, right, a couple years ago, probably even the beginning of this year, the way we approached the holiday season as contact center leaders and owners was very much around scalability, right? Usually you go into this season starting probably June, July, Christmas in July, right? And you're like, oh gosh, I got to scramble to hire. I have to write new scripts. Is my team going to be able to handle it? Am I going to scale fast enough without losing any quality? Those are the main concerns that we really see. Pre-AI, right? Now with AI agents, I would say all of us on this call will agree, we're seeing these voice AI agents in particular handling thousands of conversations at scale, no wait times, no burnout with a new team, so to speak, and really no variation in quality. So it's been really great. And what we're really doing on that go-to-market front at Regal right now is working with customers to say, all right, how do we plan a bit smarter going into the holiday season? Because we'll be staffing a little bit differently. It's not how many people can we get in the door to hire tomorrow and then train them up really quick and kind of fingers crossed, let's make sure that they handle it, right? It's how do we get AI into our contact centers now so that we can start testing maybe smaller use cases that we can scale up during the holiday season and really be strong and not miss any of that revenue that we might have lost.
I don't come from the contact center space, but I'm kind of curious. Like, it seems difficult to have to go out and go on a hiring spree leading into every holiday season, right? Or every seasonal increase in business. And hiring is notoriously difficult. There's always high turnover, especially in a contact center environment. So, how does this change kind of the hiring planning? And what is the impact to the business, not just in terms of the cost, but like operational efficiency?
Yeah, I can take that one as well. Right, when you're going out to hire, especially during a peak season, you're really just trying to get butts in seats, right? You know that you're going to be taking on a lot more volume. So a lot of times, not even the quality of how agents are handling their calls, just the quality that you're looking for to get more people in the door goes out the window a little bit because you're so concerned that you're going to miss so much by long wait times or bad customer experience. That kind of trickles down right into the training process. Maybe I've hired a lot of people, but it's really difficult to train them quickly. You're looking at a contact center traditionally, maybe about an 8 to 12 week turnaround time to get someone truly up and running on the floor. And a lot of times those agents might churn after 3 to 4 weeks before they're actually ever making you any revenue. So that's always a really difficult thing. If you've started that process now or end of July, holiday season's coming up, like you said, maybe tomorrow, right? A lot earlier than we thought. What we're seeing with the AI agents is we're bringing them in as teammates to our humans. So now we can turn our humans to handle more high value conversations, and more high volume goes to that AI agent that I can stand up in just a couple of days, just a couple of like 2 weeks to get that first use case up and running. So it really impacts just my growth as a contact center and how seamlessly my team can kind of step into that holiday season.
Lori, I see you nodding a lot. Do you want to weigh in?
Yeah. I was just going to say that the boat, it's high on the package that Mandy just, do you like that play on a holiday? I just realized I did that. Is really that the ability for the AI agent to handle the routine inquiries, eliminate the hold time for your consumers, and all of that decreases the cost of doing business during the holiday season, which is typically when it becomes very expensive to operate our business. So it's a nice little bow on the package.
And I know
And-
I'm a little off script for everyone watching. We do a prep call and we've got some questions to ask here, but I'm going to keep going off script for a second if you guys don't mind.
Yep.
Maybe I'll go to Hardy here. Hardy, it seems to me that at a time where your volume is peaking, and you're bringing in new employees that are not trained, and maybe you didn't have the luxury of screening for experience and quality. Um, Sounds to me like there's a big risk of your CSAT and just overall customer experience taking a hit here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. I think Manny did a nice job of talking about it too. You're gonna have probably an elongation in your hold times, and you're gonna have a decrease in your customer experience, no matter what you do or how hard you work. If your answer is a human-centric answer, because humans are unpredictable, they get sick, they quit, and that's where the power of automation is so amazing in solving this interesting element of the kind of the journey of a contact center. And the way I think about it is, you can do a couple things. You can augment the capacity, human capacity, meaning add AI agents to just handle the surge. And the other thing you can do is you can reduce the amount of each interaction time by optimizing the journey, by automating elements of the customer journey, maybe specific use cases like frequently asked questions or identity and verification. One example I have that I think can highlight the power of this just real quickly, and this isn't necessarily a holiday one, but it is a holiday one. We've seen it with one of our airline customers. You have a weather outage during a holiday. You're going to have a significant surge in rebookings. And for any of us in the U.S. that's had this experience, and there was one airline that had a really bad version of this a couple of years ago, as we all know, around Christmas, you're talking about hours and hours of hold time and whatever. And through automation of the rebooking process, one particular airline customer of ours has been able to essentially eliminate that, which has historically been a huge elongation of call queue times. And also, needless to say, when you're on hold for 3 hours, 7 hours, whatever, I mean, the customer experience, the customer CSAT just, drops to the floor. So, I mean, in fact, that one airline in North America that had that problem, I'm not sure that they've frankly recovered from that because it was such a bad, outage, if you want to call it that. So,
Yeah, and in that kind of use case, I think there's a greater cost than just the reputational damage, which is significant and probably difficult to measure, right? But there's also hard costs because there's probably going to end up being miles that you're giving to people because they're so
Sure.
satisfied, right? So
Sure.
it does end up costing the business. Had a question come in. I want to address it up front because I think it's relevant to people that are listening, just to make sure that they stay engaged with the rest of the webinar here. But Matthew asked, what size companies benefit from this kind of contact center? He's asking specifically, he's at a medium-sized insurance agency. I don't know how he would define medium-sized. I think you ask that question to 10 people, you're going to get 10 different answers. But maybe someone can just kind of take that. what's the sweet spot here for people to start seeing value?
Yeah, I'm happy to take that. I would say, you're really looking at call volume that exists. The best way that we see the highest performance with these AI agents is not right now. The art of the possible. I have two people and I could make, the same calls that 100 people could if I had AI, right? Then your success criteria becomes a little bit gray of what success means to you. How do I deploy it? What expectations do I have? If I am doing quite a lot of call volume. At Regal, we're working with customers, maybe 100,000 calls or more a month in or out of your contact center. Then I can start with maybe 10% of that. And I know I can move those really high volume to AI because I know the cost of staffing a human to do it. And I know what my humans can do. I have a very black and white success criteria. Then I can start to identify more and more of those really high volume tier one type tasks and gradually move those over. So I would say size is probably a little bit up to the vendor and up to the customer. We can probably be flexible and work on those conversations, but it's a lot more. I have already existing data in the world of AI agents, that's volume. And I know there's a certain percentage of that I want to move off of a human's plate to an AI human's plate. And that's where you're going to get the most successful results today.
And
Yeah,
I would add in there, oh, sorry, Sean.
okay.
I would add into the volume is also the understanding of your business. So as Mandy said, like knowing what your call volume is, but also knowing the reason behind and having the FAQs and the knowledge base to support those calls so that it's a quick and easy stand up and transition.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like anything, if you ask an expert, the right answer is always it depends, right? So it's going to depend
Yes.
on use case a little bit because Mandy's example, maybe you've got 100,000 calls and 10% of those are transactional that you could deflect using this kind of technology. But what if you got 11,000 calls, uh, but still 10,000 of them were easily deflected, right? That there might be a use case for that.
For
Also probably depends on how the company's, planning to grow and scale and how seasonality might impact it.
John, one other comment on that. I think the amazing thing about, and I mean, I think all three of us are, quote, sort of enamored with automation and really believe it is the mega trend in customer experience. There are great solutions for all sizes of customers out there. And the key, as Mandy mentioned, though, is as you scale up, the number of providers that can handle that surge, which we're talking about here, like around a holiday, gets a lot narrower. So for my advice to Matthew, and I don't know if Matthew said he's medium sized, but just in general, is make sure, if you're trying to solve a surge problem, then solve for the surge, meaning the capacity, that make sure your provider can handle that. Like with us, as an example, with this particular airline, we had to have the ability to scale from, let's call it, 100% in a very short period of time, or even maybe 1,000% in volume, and that's not trivial. And just depending on your partner, they may or may not be able to have that. On the low end of the market, maybe the automation is just simply something as simple as appointment reminders or something like that, which isn't necessarily a surge issue, but there's great ways to automate elements of your customer journeys all the way up and down the customer size spectrum.
Sure. He did follow up and say 100 employees. But to your point, maybe the enterprise solutions that are represented here on the panel today are not a fit, but there's probably a fit out there.
If you want to ask him, or I'll ask one question, what's his volume of conversations or interactions a year? I think that would be helpful just to answer it. But because I think all three of us probably, based on his size, that would not be a deal. That would not be a customer that we wouldn't be interested in supporting.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to keep it moving for now, and maybe we can follow up with Matthew
Great.
later. So back to you, Hardy. When should businesses start preparing their AI strategy for peak season?
Yeah, I mean, I think the timing we're doing right now is great. Now, and the good news is the way that the technology is advanced, you could actually, start a process today that could impact that this year. And I know that sounds maybe to some people a little crazy, but I will tell you the actual deployment times have compressed so much the last year and a half with the era of agentic and the large language models. Whereas before there was a much more elaborate set of processes you had to do to get the actual experience right. You can get 80% of the way with the experience very quickly, and then you still have time to refine it. So I mean, my answer would be, of course, it depends. I'm joking a little bit to you, but I would say you still have time right now if you were to try to solve one pain point like Mandy talked about. You could probably do that and be very successful this year in doing that, and maybe have a different outcome this year than last year, where you had this ongoing challenge of dealing with the surge.
Yeah. It does seem like there's enough lead time. It might be a little ambitious, but little plug for Amplix. We do help accelerate those kind of projects as well. So you can move through that process a little bit faster. But if you were not doing an AI implementation, when would you have to start the hiring process? Probably now anyway, right?
I
Probably
mean,
hiring all year, right?
yeah.
Knowing
Mhm.
like, do I have seasonal? Do I
Yeah.
have concurrent employees? I would say to Hardy's point as well, too, look at the makeup of your business and how you want to deploy something like this. That's probably, Lori probably has firsthand with customer success of it's not that it's too late or it's too early. It's how self-service do you want your platform to be? Do you want to do the pro services? Do you want to do the implementation in-house? That's going to take a bit longer, right? You're going to need to do all that testing, coding, scripting, training on your end. If you're using, a Cognigy, a Poly, a Regal, we provide those types of services. So it can really escalate that if you're willing to work with us more like a team member than keep it all in-house.
And
Yeah.
Mandy, I'm sure you would agree with this, but the thing that usually elongates the process is not the design and build of the solution. It's the connecting to the infrastructure of the enterprise. It's the availability of the APIs. It's the SIP trunks. It's the whatever. There's there, and so that alignment internal. Like if you say we're going to do this year, we're going to augment our human capacity with automation, then you have to have a really tightly aligned team of both IT and the business itself, the line of business, that everyone's rowing together in the boat, and
Mhm.
they're all coming to the party, and they're gonna knock any obstacles out to get that done. And yes, okay, maybe a carrier may cause a little bit of latency in the process, but even carriers these days have had to respond much faster on provisioning. So, my view is if you have that alignment, you could achieve something this year with this idea.
And maybe I'll start with Lori on this one, but I've also heard a lot of IT leaders have some hesitation over their data. There's a little bit of
Mhm.
paralysis by analysis, right? My data is not ready. I'm not sure about the data, and obviously data integrity is going to be critical to this kind of thing. Maybe, Lori, can you speak to that? I mean, how good does their data need to be? How much thought do they need to put into the data prior to engaging in a project like this?
Yeah, absolutely what Hardy said. Not only having the right people on the project that are the decision makers, but also that your APIs are ready. And your API is ready when you have a clear understanding of what your use case is. What problem are we solving? We have the API aligned and ready to go. And then we have the decision makers as part of the project who can free up people to do some of the testing in partnership with us. Yeah.
It, just getting back to kind of the investment in AI now
Mhm.
versus investing in hiring, continuing on a seasonal basis. I just wanted to make the point also that um, you can do this and you can get it in before the holiday season now, but then this becomes evergreen, and um,
Yeah,
there's still a commitment and an investment in ongoing training and management of these models, right? But it's going to be a lot less drain on your operations than going through the hiring process. Would you guys agree with that?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing,
Human and financial, right?
Right.
yeah, exactly. And the other thing I was just going to say real quick is that, when you're solving for a holiday surge, you're also solving for other surges.
Mhm.
And using the airline example I was using earlier, you don't know when people are going to go on strike. So they're not going to go on strike necessarily on Christmas Eve. They may go on strike on, I don't know, Valentine's Day. So there's, solving some of these anticipated but unpredictable fluctuations in volume can really smooth out your business and really drive a longer term growth in your CSAT. And I think that's also one of the unanticipated benefits of attacking, call it, or creating a crisis. You never squander a good crisis, right? Which, solving this holiday surge problem ends up creating a really powerful solution, a la flight rebookings, which may, an airline could have an issue with the weather. It could be labor. It could be, whatever, just a holiday season. So you kind of end up maybe solving 3 or 4 problems or opportunities and creating 3 or 4 opportunities at one time.
That's a great point. It's a more scalable posture because you never know when you're going to have a surge. I mean, Matthew, I don't know what kind of insurance he's in, but maybe a storm rolls into his market, and next thing you know, everyone's trying to get a hold of an adjuster, right? Or
Exactly.
maybe your company has a viral moment like that company Astronomer. I don't know if anyone's been following this Coldplay concert saga here, right? But that company has experienced a huge spike in interest just as a byproduct of that meme going around. So you never know, and just being in a position where you can scale probably helps you mitigate the risk of creating a bad customer experience in times when you're having a surge, and those are the times that probably matter the most.
Right. And to Mandy's point earlier, you may have this holiday surge and you can plan for it or you try to plan for it and, hire up. But if you like an airline, if you have a strike, in April and you were planning on handling you handle this you want to handle the surge in December, but you have a strike in April, you're not hiring up to handle the strike. You're flat-footed on that one. So the automation takes that risk out of your business, and I think that's really powerful.
I also think from an employee experience standpoint, this is another great way to think about AI. Sometimes I think a lot of people get hesitant. They're like, oh, AI is taking all of our jobs away. But look at it from your company's standpoint. If I start incorporating AI agents to take away that high volume, right, and I'm leaving human agents to handle high value, well, maybe I can pay a bit more, especially during the holiday seasons. And maybe I become a more attractive employer for my human agents to not churn, to refer other really good quality human agents as well. So you just become like an overall better, they're happier, they're handling more high value, more important calls, their job is more important, they're liking what they're doing a bit more, they're not doing that day to day calling endlessly to no answers, or people yelling about an overdue bill, or just rebooking appointments all day. Like they're not having to do those mundane tasks either.
Yeah, sure. The volume is probably where the burnout is, and in doing mindless tasks over and over again. And if you could
Exactly.
take that out of the equation, and I think we've been talking. The context of this conversation so far has been mostly around conversational AI, but there's also something to be said for AI that offers real-time coaching in a situation where somebody does get upset and it starts to escalate, right? And that AI can step in and either offer coaching tips or offload that call to a manager or something like that, which I think definitely impacts the employee experience as well. Would you agree?
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to add one comment, thinking of what Mandy was saying. I talked about increasing the capacity, or augmenting, and or creating more capacity within your existing labor profile. And this is where the agent facing, which Mandy was talking about, the agent facing automation you were referencing around quality management, the agent assist and the auto summarization of the conversations. If you think about your workforce, you have 1,000 agents, you can save a minute a call through automating the call summarization. You're creating more capacity that reduces the need to go hire incremental agents, to handle a search. So there's a couple of different ways to think about the automation. One's the customer facing, which we've been talking a lot about around, certain use cases that you could automate and or completely automate an entire workflow. But there's also that agent facing element, and we're seeing a lot of customers wanting to adopt that, certainly the auto summarization of the conversation relative to automating that and uploading that to the CRM or wherever, and that's saving a huge amount of time. It's a really easy, low risk use case that pretty much anybody can adopt, and it's very quick to deploy.
Yeah. So we're creating operational efficiency and cost savings by way of the hiring process, right? And allowing them to scale. We're improving customer experience oftentimes. We're improving employee experience. And to your last point, we're increasing productivity. Are there any other places where, AI can have an impact this holiday season?
Yeah. Um, I think the biggest thing, right, is you're capturing revenue that would have been lost, right? That's probably the most impactful thing that you can front end go to your executive team and say, hey, I know Hardy's mentioned a lot about, the airline examples, but any hospitality, booking, rebooking, kind of any vertical, Even people like insurance, right? I think, Matthew, you're in an insurance company, people shopping around for new policies as they get around the holiday season. Is there something cheaper out there for my family, right? Before AI agents came to the table, those calls either went on hold, went to voicemail, and the follow-up became that day-to-day for a human agent. With AI agents, you're always capturing that revenue, as in every call is getting answered with no wait time. Every lead is being followed up on, even if it's just a let me schedule you an appointment with a human agent, right? Let me get that task out of the way. Um, and then even no opportunity is slipping through the cracks there. You have your hands on all of that potential revenue. So I think to the business, especially as we get into the holiday season, that's probably the number one impact you're going to see if you deploy something like this now.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and the increase in your brand loyalty, because the unanswered calls or the abandoned calls that Mandy is talking about, they're picking up the phone and calling your competitor. So having the 100% availability, I'm driving my brand my brand loyalty, and my repeat customers. So peak time holiday season to drive that.
Yeah, as a marketing guy, I'm glad that you said that because, to me, I look at customer experience through the marketing lens and
Yeah.
through the brand lens, right? And it's definitely a way to increase brand loyalty and brand equity. And there are plenty of companies out there and brands that have leveraged a stellar customer experience as a differentiator in their space, right? And again, in the holiday seasons or in peak times, those are the times that you take the hit, right? So you're really putting something in place that can mitigate that risk because I can tell you, and my board that I report to can tell you it's hard and expensive to build brand equity and brand loyalty and it's a fragile thing, if you
So easy to lose, right?
that's
Hard to
right, it's
build.
easy to lose.
And the drop of a call can make you lose it. Yeah.
Customers expect you to make mistakes. I
Yep.
think everyone understands. Well, I was about to say that we're all human, but I guess we're not talking about humans here, but maybe that's the point, right? Is we're taking the human out of the equation and that does control the experience a little bit more.
But I think, Sean, we're elevating the human experience. So we've kind of skirted around that agents, the AI agents, can become part of your team member, right? They're part of your team. They're handling some of the rote, repetitive, easier to respond tasks and questions, and really driving that value for your employees to be able to provide a better consumer, better customer experience. And as an employee, I'd much rather have the more meaningful decision-making, empathy-driven conversations and tasks at hand versus the rote repetitive. So I don't know, I always steer away from the deflection or the replacing. It's more of the embracing, enhancing, and supporting our customer base and our employee base.
Sure, but back to the kind of the point of the peak season, you can maintain your core group of contact center employees and still handle those peak seasons, right?
Yes.
Without
We actually
compromising.
had a large US-based retailer that implemented for last holiday season. And one of the benefits, Mandy was talking about benefits that the employees can receive and reinvesting back into your own teams. For the first time ever, they were able to give employees in the contact center time off during the holidays. And they will shout that from rooftops. Like, it was so meaningful for the business, but no dip in service, if not improvement in service. So
it's slightly related, but I have to say this. We had someone from your company at one of our events recently, and they brought a customer. I won't name who it is, but they're a casino, and they have a VIP program, right? And they implemented your solution, for the VIPs to do scheduling, handle, getting tickets to events, things like that. And I heard some of those calls, and they really embraced it. And to the point where I thought it was funny, they made the decision not to disclose that it was AI, just kind of assuming that people pick that up. But we heard that people would contact the contact center managers and say, you really need to give that person a day off. Every time I call, no matter what hour it is, I'm always there.
Yes.
So, I guess my point is, if it's done artfully, it can really protect the customer experience and improve it, to your point, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
So
and the advancements in the tech the last year, between the improvement in the reasoning and the quality of the voices, you can create truly human-like experiences. To your point about where a customer may not actually realize that they're talking to a AI agent, not a human agent, and that's extraordinary. I mean, for those of us who've been around the track a couple times, that's really, really exciting. The developments the last year or so.
it really is. I grapple with whether that's the right tack, though. I feel like for me personally, you should disclose that ahead of time or make it clear
So
in some kind of
I
way.
don't think that I don't think any of us are sitting here trying to deceive customers, right?
Sure,
And
yeah.
say it's
Correct.
not AI. Actually, we do a ton of testing with our customers during the pilot periods of like, what if the AI agent introduces themselves as a virtual agent or not? And they'll do a head-to-head A/B test and say, oh, it seems like our customers actually didn't care. People get frustrated with AI of the old, right? When it was extremely robotic and couldn't resolve anything. And that's why I would say my biggest piece of advice right now is like, don't just deflect to a chat bot. People want to talk. They prefer voice if they can get a phone number and immediately talk to someone and get their question answered, regardless of it's AI or not. The AI just has to be responsive. So that's what the three of us, I would say, and Amplix, we can help you with that. We can do the testing, right? We can make sure they're the right use cases, those high volume. We're not just throwing a super complex like sale, right? Or return or something that we would want a human kind of touch to. But the experience overall is going to be better. Think of your agent as well, who gets a transferred call from an AI voice agent. That's a correct transfer, immediate, and they can get everything resolved super quick versus, well, I was forced to go to a chatbot. It didn't know. I had to repeat myself. I had to scream at it. Then I got transferred to three people. Now I'm talking to the human and I'm just livid. So I'm not being very nice as the customer. That's really what you're resolving. That improves both the customer experience, the employee experience, and you're driving more revenue.
Is that the innovation in LLMs that has made that possible? Because I have heard sample calls recently where, to your point, in the past, if you didn't say just the right phrase, you wouldn't get anywhere, and then you get frustrated.
Right.
And I heard multiple calls of someone, different people trying to accomplish the same thing, but with wildly different phrasing, and it just understood intuitively exactly what they wanted.
Yeah. I'd say with the advancement of LLMs, your open AIs, anything across under the sun, right? They have a lot more ability. It's called RAG, right? We can get into detail, but it's just they have a lot more capabilities to say, I can objection handle if something in this vicinity is like what I'm supposed to be doing. I can handle and resolve that request. It doesn't have to be an exact keyword or phrase or spot on, and you don't have to go through and write every single potential sentence that could come up. It's come a long way, even in the past 6 months, I'd say.
Yeah, that's right. The old deterministic models, Sean, you had to program the system. You had to say what it had been programmed to understand. And that's why when you say something that's not exactly what it was programmed to understand, you'd get, I don't know I can't answer your question. Whereas now, you can take the large language models, you can augment it with your own corporate knowledge, which is that retrieval augmented generation that Mandy was talking about. And now you have and with the reasoning of the models, they're smart enough, they have emotion, they can actually create a lifelike experience. And then you augment that with these really powerful human-like voices. The quality of the voices has evolved so rapidly in the last year or two. It's incredible. So the combination of the improvement of the models, the augmentation with your corporate knowledge, and that's where you keep the AI agent on task. You tell it you can only answer questions within this domain, so you don't have that, risk of hallucination. And then you add to that the voices, and you get the magic that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have developers in-house that work on certain platforms and create these IVAs, intelligent virtual agents. And on our demo site, it's demo.amplix.com if anyone wants to check it out. But you can go in the chat, and the person that wrote the script, he does a demo, and he asks, it's a bank. He asks the bank to order him a checkbook, and it says, great, we've got three different themes. I forget, it's puppies, it's landscape, and then it's space. And he's like, well, I'm a fan. He's just typing this in. I'm a fan of Captain James T. Kirk. What do you recommend? And it picks the space one for him. And it's pretty mind blowing that it has that capability, right? That context is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's very cool.
So we talked about some use cases for seasonality, and I think a lot of it sounded like retail. We talked about the airlines. I want to just dig into a couple of other use cases. Let's talk maybe healthcare. How can this help healthcare, and what are the seasonal peaks that they may have?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Mandy.
I was going to say in the healthcare insurance vertical, kind of twofold, right? We do a ton with like Medicare Advantage. So those are very peak season businesses, end of the year, beginning of the year. We have a customer, HP1, Health Plan One, who had just about 100 agents and they wanted to scale to 250. They went to their executive board, said, hey, Q4, Q1, we need to be at 250. We just can't handle the volume. And we have so many requests coming in, right? They deployed Regal.ai agents about 2 years ago now. So very cutting edge for healthcare. And I'll just caveat and say healthcare is actually adopting this, I'd say, as one of the quickest verticals out there, which is very, not normal. They're usually one of the slower verticals to adopt, but they're hands-on with this. And what they saw was they actually didn't have to hire a single additional human agent. They kept right about that 100, scaled up. They've actually added 2 more AI agents since then to handle different types of tasks. They've added an outbound, so proactive outbound scheduling, or people who are coming up for renewals, in addition to a full IVR replacement. And again, this is peak season. I think Hardy mentioned, right? It's not just solving a problem for right now, but they were able to see a 97% containment rate by replacing their IVR with an AI agent. Just because when you truly dig in, like Lori said, to the actual calls your humans are handling today, you're going to find that there are so many that fall into that tier 1 high volume, and we can really start to move a significant amount of traffic to AI.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that the benefit, another thing we sort of talked on, was going from pilot to scale, right? And so what we implement, even if it's just a quick win, a low barrier, fast use case to meet some of the holiday need, that's building on your long-term roadmap, right? So the investment you're making today is repeatable. It's predictable during the unpredictable times, I would say. So it's not lost effort, and it's not lost financial investment, right? You're continuing to grow on that. A couple questions ago, Mandy mentioned something that made me think about the ability to then reinvest, right? So we've got the short term, we're answering the holiday need, and then what? We just walk away? No, we have those savings, both we have the financial savings, we have the people savings. We can then turn around and reinvest that into our roadmap. So we're maturing our AI, we're maturing our employee base, we're maturing our knowledge base, we're driving the revenue. So it's that quick holiday is an easy entry point to help you with your future technology roadmap.
Yeah, it checks some boxes, right?
It does.
It creates some cost savings. It improves the customer experience and all the metrics that come along with that. It controls costs, labor costs, and actually other costs, right? And it satisfies the board when they say we need to start using AI, right? This is a manageable project to get your foot in the door with AI and really kind of satisfy that.
And not industry specific, right? Like there's no silos. Mandy couldn't have said it better, that it was a surprise to everyone that healthcare is a fast adopter. It's fantastic. We haven't seen an industry in which it is not supporting.
Well, it's what you said. If they're not, I mean, particularly something like Medicare open enrollment or something, if if they can't get through to you, they're going to call somebody else to try. And so it behooves you to solve this problem quickly and, enable more people to get through your system and get enrolled on your, down your insurance, on your insurance journey. So,
yeah.
I think Matthew, am I sharing my screen? Because Matthew must be reading my notes here. He's kind of hitting the next question.
Matthew, you have an AI agent companion.
I don't know what's happening here, but I was just going to go to, we were going to get to the retail examples. I think we hit on a lot of the retail, but retail in particular, and a lot of other industries, apparently insurance as well. We're not just dealing with seasonality, but we're also dealing with calls that are coming in after hours, right? So talk about how maybe this can help that.
Yeah, I would say it is the same messaging that's been a theme of this call, but it's an opportunity for your AI agent to capture the calls that would typically go abandoned or having to pay off hour overtime. It eliminates the need to extend your contact center hours just to meet the holiday surge. Because as I think it was Mandy, again, that mentioned at the beginning of the call, 100% of calls are answered. You have no hold time. Your abandoned diminishes unless it's a disconnect, right? And you can set up your after hours to create a task that it can, you don't have to have an open queue, an open team to field calls immediately. So yeah, the 24/7 is true when it comes to implementing an AI agent.
I think someone made the point earlier too about giving employees time off.
Yeah.
This is probably a case where, let's say you're staffed until you're fully staffed from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern,
Yep.
right? And then maybe you have to retain some staff to handle the West Coast. You might be able to let more people go earlier and manage just through deflecting a lot of those transactional kind of calls. So again, it goes back to the
100%.
employee experience during high pressure times or times that are less than ideal for them to be working.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're driving the containment and you're meeting your consumers' need at the same time.
Sure.
Yep.
All right, we're getting towards the end here, so I'm going to get into some practical, actionable questions. I think the answer has probably been talked about a few times here, and that's probably a POC for meeting your holiday needs. But what's one low lift, high impact way to start integrating AI before the holidays? I'm going to start with Mandy, and then we're going to go around to Lori and then Hardy.
Yeah, I think Hardy mentioned earlier, right? If you want to jump into adopting AI now, you probably could see results before the holiday season happens this year. It is a very fast turnaround. So what I would say is like pick 1% of your highest volume, your most common use case that you have today. Talk to providers like us, talk to Amplix and say, I want to go into a pilot with this specific use case. So take a look at your calls internally. What's like, I'll use appointment scheduling, lead qualification or verification, payments and collections. I have an overdue bill, help me set up a payment plan. Pick a use case like that you just see over and over again. Take 1% of that, go into a pilot with an AI agent. See how it works. So then when you scale to a holiday season, you're able to actually roll that out to impact like what you're going to be getting towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I would just add specific to retail, some of the low barrier or the low hanging fruit would be locations, the change in hours. We get a ton of phone calls at retail. What are your operating hours because it's holiday season? Order status, order tracking, returns is a high volume. And even if you don't have all the bells and whistles by the time we start this for peak season, you can still pull that information into an FAQ, and then you're alleviating that call volume. And then you can spend the time, as we mentioned before, building out a more robust integration later.
Hardy?
And then I would just say, I think, because you guys did a great job of covering the customer facing, I think that the auto summarization of the post call is a really easy one to implement and would increase your capacity significantly of your human agents, thereby freeing them up to handle more. In addition to the customer facing automation that you can do, which my advice on that is always, stack rank the complexity and the opportunity and figure out find the perfect fit of high return and relatively easy to deploy. And as Lori was saying, that like FAQs is an example, knowledge, that's a pretty easy one to deploy too. And it's often underappreciated that, customers don't really want to talk to an agent to find out what your store hours are. And if it's dynamically changing with the holidays, that's an area where automation and AI could really pay off significantly. So
Absolutely. What is one thing that you think every contact center leader should rethink before this holiday season hits? I'm going to start with you, Hardy, and we'll go backwards to Lori, then Mandy.
that you can't deploy something in time to impact your
Huh.
business.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
I immediately went to move beyond replacing human mindset, which I talked about a little bit earlier. But if you approach this for adding your AI agent and really define clear roles, what's that repetitive work that your AI agent is going to do? And what are the roles that your human agent is going to focus on? Give them the decision-driven, the high-value interactions. Sales always comes to mind for me, right? Like if we have our sales agents, they're in retail, they're commission-based, they're goal-driven. Do they really want to handle an order status call? No, like they're so mad. So push that elsewhere. Let the AI agent handle that and let them get busy doing what they're doing their best, which is just helping your consumers and driving your brand loyalty.
Yeah,
So yeah,
not only
just move away from the replacing a human mindset. Like bring them on as part of your team.
do they not want to take those calls if they're compensated for sales,
Right.
and there's no sales opportunity there, but there's the opportunity cost to the business, right? Because that's that agent being used for something that is non-revenue generating, and that's wasteful,
100%.
right? Big opportunity cost.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
Andy, how about you?
Yeah, I said it earlier. I'm going to say it again. Don't just think because you're nervous with the holiday season or a peak season coming up, like that the answer is chatbot. That's not the answer anymore. We all have the data to show people want to talk to someone, whether it's AI or a human. Like the customer experience will just go through the roof if they can call in, get someone on the phone, ask their question, especially to that FAQ point, right? Where you see these like 97% containment rates is because the majority of these calls coming in are hours of operation. Hey, a question on the price of that. Hey, like, do you offer that college course online at your program, right? There's so many of the questions that we actually see AI agents resolving. So give them a phone number, deploy an AI agent as part of the team, right? You can do it really quickly to address all three of our points, but don't deflect to just a chatbot because I can think of nothing more frustrating as a consumer. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no phone number.
Speaking of innovation, the last question that we have, and then we'll take some Q&A. So if you have a question, dump it in now. We're going to go through this one, and then we'll answer some final questions. What innovations are on the horizon that could reshape how we think about peak season readiness in 2026 and beyond? Let's just go backwards now. So Mandy, you, then Lori, then Hardy.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, right, it's such a hot topic. The demand is how do we get AI involved as a teammate? But I think in the future, you're going to see just a lot of improvement. Hardy mentioned that the voices have already just come leaps and bounds in the past 6 months. I think you're going to see more AI with AI in the next probably coming 6 months of self-improvement and, how do I dynamically make myself more personalized to the business with the knowledge bases that I know? So a little bit more of that agent learning, which will only help them, right? They'll be able to handle maybe a little bit more. Maybe they can resolve a little bit more, keep those containment rates up. That's what I would say the improvements we're seeing are headed towards.
Yeah, 100%. And adding to that, just the sentiment, right? So as the hyper personalization is happening in the conversational AI, the ability to capture that sentiment and adjust accordingly, that innovation is evolving rapidly.
And then I'll just add a slightly different thought. What you're seeing is all of the leading platforms really continuing to refine the tooling to make it even simpler to design the agents. And think of it as before you had to literally build the agent, you had to put the pieces of it together. And with the latest and greatest tooling that we're all working on, you're now literally able to upload a job description and hit go, and it creates in real time the agent, the AI agent, and that's profoundly impactful relative to time to deploy.
Yeah, I have a question here about integrations and what platforms your solutions can integrate with. So I'll let you guys answer that quickly, but then I want to maybe zoom out of that question a little bit and touch on. I'm not an expert in this space. It seems to me that there are a few different ways that you can acquire and implement this technology. One is whatever is built into your platform, right? So your CCaaS platform probably has some of this functionality baked into it. And then there's what I would call ecosystem players like yourselves that are maybe platform agnostic that are specialized. And then I'm starting to see it with CRMs and ticketing systems that are developing their own, and so the integration is happening between the CRM and the platform as opposed to the technology exists on the CRM side of that equation as opposed to the other equation. So talk to me about integrations briefly, each of you, and then let's kind of get to that bigger question of what are the differences between those three different approaches.
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak for Regal in terms of integrations. Regal's a fully open API solution and platform. So as long as the data can be shared with Regal, we can work. And we have a lot of pre-built integrations. I think, Matthew, I think I saw you said Zoom. We don't really care about the underlying tech stack. Regal was actually built as a contact center platform originally. So you can use Regal as both the technology that both your humans and AI agents are sitting in. Don't have to, not necessary. You can use any UCaaS, any CCaaS, on-prem, in the cloud, any CRM, as long, again, as the data can be shared. So you want to have those teams available for what types of knowledge bases you want to train these agents off of.
Lori, how about yours?
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. If you have the API ready to roll, it's wide open. Let's go. Just bring the
Hardy?
right people to the table.
Hardy, same answer?
Um, just to add that I think the LLM and the cognitive services interoperability is really important right now because things are changing so quickly. So a lot of customers, and I'm talking enterprise specifically, medium and large enterprise, they don't want to get stuck. They may have a hyperscaler of choice. They want the power of choice. So I think that's really important. This future-proofing value prop is super critical at this stage of the market.
And so what do you guys think about that? Am I right that there's three different approaches to this, and can you compare and contrast them?
Yeah, I would say, yeah. I mean, the way I would compare them, I would say there are the best of breed providers, like all three of us on the phone. There are the adjacent solutions of the contact center providers. And then there are the adjacent market movers, all of the CRM and the ServiceNows of the world that are also deploying agentic solutions. So those are your three ways to acquire AI agents, not necessarily only for the contact center, but certainly possibly moving into the contact center as well.
I
Got it.
probably
Yeah, I
add
agree.
one more for maybe a mid-size to SMB market who still really wants this type of tech. There are a lot of developer solutions out there that do tailor more to that space. Again, that's going to be a lot more in-house on you, the customer, to work and build those, but they do have those programs
Good
that
point.
they'll kind of give you the keys, give you some guidance, but they're not going to be the full-blown, and that's going to be better for
That's a
your
great point.
SMB.
That's a
Like,
great point. And all the hyperscalers have a set of tools you can use to build and what you just said as well. So that should have been probably the fourth category. You're right.
Yeah.
I don't know why I see it. I guess I probably do, but I get a lot of ads in like Instagram, for example, for conversational AI that are not pretty clearly they're not targeting enterprise, right? They're definitely targeting the SMB market, and they're names that I can't recall. I've never heard of before. There's probably some risk in that, right? But this is definitely a space right now where there's a lot of startups, there's a lot of VC money, there's a lot of companies that are just trying to kind of get in there and get some users and prove the concept. So I think for smaller businesses, there's an opportunity in that as well. I don't have any final questions. Matthew, I'm going to give you my email address. It sounds like you need to have a conversation with someone here at Amplix. No sales pressure, but I feel like you've got more questions. So it's sc@amplix.com. sc@amplix.com. Anyone can email me if you have any questions. And I would be happy to connect you to the right people. Otherwise, thanks so much, everybody, for joining us and for the panel, for your time and expertise. Appreciate it very much. And wish you guys a happy holiday season.
Take care.
Yes, happy holidays
Take care.
in July.